Call the June, whatchamacallit, date 2nd to order. You got to read your script, right?
I do, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome to the June 2nd meeting of the Monterey Neighborhood and Community Improvement Program. We encourage members of the public to join our meeting via Zoom Gov, which is a secure service for use by government agencies. Joining on Zoom is preferred because there is no lag time when you're connected to the meeting. However, this meeting is also streamed live on youtube.com/City of Monterey with a delay of approximately 10 seconds, and also on Comcast Channel 25 with a delay of up to 90 seconds. If you plan on making a public comment, please join the meeting using the Zoom Gov app or by telephone, making sure you join in time to accommodate the delay. To join the meeting from Zoom on your computer or phone, use the link provided or phone number on the agenda at isearchmonterey.org. And because this meeting has already begun, you'll find the agenda under the Recent tab. To join by telephone, dial 833-568-8864. That's a toll-free number. And then enter webinar ID 161-843-6636 and the pound symbol or hashtag. If prompted to enter a participant ID, press the hashtag again. This information is available at the top of tonight's agenda in the red text, and detailed instructions on using Zoom are also available at monterey.org/public meetings. To make a public comment, please raise your hand using Zoom, or if you're connected by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute yourself. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak. We ask that public commenters turn off TV or computer speakers or go to another room while connected by phone, as any background noise will interfere with the broadcast. Each public speaker will be called on in the order that their hands were raised. The chair has designated a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting, with a countdown timer shown on the screen. If you are connected live on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. Please stay within your time limit so that you won't need to be cut off. Thank you, and we look forward to receiving your public comments.
Thank you, Tom. Alyssa, can we do roll call, please?
All righty. Aguajiro Oaks, Alta Mesa,
Present.
Casanova Oak Knoll,
Present on Zoom.
Deer Flats, Del Monte Beach,
Present.
Del Monte Grove Laguna Grande,
Present.
Downtown,
Here.
Fish Flats,
Here.
Glenwood,
Here.
Monterey Vista,
Here, remotely.
New Monterey,
Here.
Oak Grove,
Here.
Old Town,
Here.
Skyline,
Present.
and Villa Del Monte. Okay, we have our quorum, Rick.
Okay, great. Thank you. At this point, we'll have public comments. This is time set aside for anyone to address the NCIP on any item that's in our jurisdiction that is not on tonight's agenda. So if you're planning on speaking about one of the projects that's on the agenda tonight, from Oak Grove to citywide, this is not the time for that. So if you'd like to do public comments, please either raise your hand online or come to the dais. No one online has raised a hand, and no one's rushing towards the dais. So we'll close public comment and we'll move on to the first agenda item, which is approval of minutes for the May 19th meeting. Does anyone have any questions or changes needed for the minutes? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Second, I need the motion, but yeah.
I'll throw a motion for it in front of this one.
Okay. It's moved by Skyline, seconded by Glenwood Circle. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Alyssa, you want to call roll, please?
Alrighty. Alta Mesa,
Aye.
Casanova Oak Knoll,
Aye.
Del Monte Beach,
Aye.
Del Monte Grove Laguna Grande,
Aye.
Downtown,
Aye.
Fisherman Flats,
Aye.
Glenwood,
Aye.
Monterey Vista, Monterey Vista. You're muted, Jean.
Sorry, yes.
Okie doke. New Monterey,
Abstain.
Oak Grove,
Yes.
Old Town,
Yes.
Skyline,
Aye, aye, aye.
and Villa de, oh.
Yeah.
Villa del Monte. Sorry about that.
So it's approved? Yes, I didn't hear no nays, so I'm assuming the minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is informational reports and staff comments. Tom?
Thank you. Just a few reminders and just first off, tonight, Cody's not here tonight, so we'll see how well I do, and I'll appreciate any constructive feedback at the end of the evening. I will be attempting to run the 3-minute timer this evening on the screen when public speakers are speaking. I thought that was working last week, and we learned after the meeting that it wasn't. So I'm going to be working on that today. So I'm juggling that. I apologize, but we'll get there. It'll work. And then just a reminder for the NCIP committee that the anti-harassment training is due at the end of this month. So we're in June already. I just wanted to note that we have completed the conflict maps. That was a couple of weeks ago. We are working with the city attorney's office to get the analyses completed by that. And we should have them done next week sometime, we're expecting. So we'll get that information out to everyone that time.
And just so everyone understands, it's if you're in the 500 feet, that does not automatically mean you have a conflict. Then then they look at how many parcels are in that 500 feet. And as long as they're a magic percentage of the parcels are bigger, you have a small enough percentage, then you'd be able to vote. So, but if you're in the 500 foot, that process still has to be done to see whether you're going to be able to vote and participate in that project.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
If you're in the 1,000 foot range, it's more of, do you have a conflict? And it's for you to look at yourself in that 1,000 foot range.
Yeah. We'll be doing the same analysis for the 1,000-foot circle as well. So.
I do have one question on that. I don't know if you can answer it. If a project is in a part of, let's say, a city park, does the entire city park constitute what you have to be 500 feet away from?
No.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, how they determine the amount, because that actually happened to me a couple of years ago, because Ellis Park was within 500 feet.
Yeah.
And the project was on the opposite side of Ellis Park.
I've got that going on Hilltop.
Yeah. So
Right. So I'm just wondering.
I think the best thing would be just to check with Tom, to check with the city attorney to make sure. But no, it's not the entire parcel now, if it's where it is on the parcel.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes. And it depends on the project too. If it's like a sidewalk that goes around the park, then yeah.
Hey, Rick, I had my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Kurt, go ahead.
Just one comment. For next, I realize we can't do it this year, but for next year, we need to have these conflict maps done way sooner, because by doing it now, there is no possibility of writing the FPPC and getting an exemption.
Duly noted. So,
Yes, noted. Hopefully next year we'll have fewer projects.
well, and actually next year, the goal would be, before we start the first set of hearings, once the list is complete, have the conflict maps done at that point in time.
I agree.
Well, one more comment, just about to the committee members. That if you plan on voting in 2 weeks from tonight is voting night, you have to have either attended all 5 of the meetings that we've held to discuss the projects or viewed them online. So that's just a reminder for that. Everyone knows that, I believe. And then I wanted to go over the voting procedures for the hybrid meeting.
Okay.
And I think this is the time to do that.
Yep.
Would that be right? So we have submitted a draft to the city attorney's office of just the procedure for doing it for voting next week. It's going to be a hybrid meeting, so we'll be just like we are this evening. And we thought of a way that will work. The city attorney is just reviewing it. And again, we'll get this out to everyone so they can review it before the meeting next week. But I'll run through it briefly tonight, but it's pretty straightforward. And I don't think there will, well, let's see if there's any questions. First, I mentioned that everyone had to attend all the 5 meetings. The policies and procedures manual has all the instructions for following and on voting night is all presented there. Each neighborhood representative and alternate will receive a voting card booklet prior to the meeting. If you are planning to attend the meeting in person in 2 weeks, we'll have them here. And if you're going to be attending remotely, we'd ask you to pick them up. Alyssa will send out an email when they're ready to be picked up. It should be within the next couple of days, I think. Voting members. So if you're planning to vote next meeting, you must attend the meeting either in person or via Zoom Gov as a panelist. You cannot attend by telephone. The reason for that is because everyone has to vote simultaneously, and we want to be able to view
It's
everyone.
not just attending by Zoom Gov, it's attending by Zoom Gov with a computer that has video.
Video, correct. So everyone should be visible at the same time when the votes are cast. Voting will occur simultaneously. Let's see. Each neighborhood's vote will be read aloud and recorded before moving on to the next vote. For projects with conflicts, when people need to recuse themselves, if you're here in the chambers, we'll just ask you to step out into the hall until the discussion and voting is complete. If you are online, you'll be placed on hold in Zoom, which kind of puts you in the waiting room, like when you're waiting for a meeting to start. We tested that this morning and it worked fine. Conflict projects will be voted on before non-conflict projects. There are 55 conflict projects on the list of 150. So about a third of them are conflicts.
They
And
may
then-
or may not become voting night.
Correct. And projects will be voted on by neighborhood alphabetically and then by the project number in that. At the end of the meeting, we're planning on taking a break. We'll summarize the results and try and present preliminary results. But it will be based after the meeting. Staff will begin to refine the cost estimates to determine the top ranked projects to see how far the money goes until we get to the bottom of the meeting. And then we will publish and present that to the NCIP committee.
Okay, just to clarify one thing, the way it will work is we're going to say you're voting on XYZ project. Now everyone we have to raise them at the same time. So that way no one is seeing how anyone else is voting in advance. They'll then take it all down, read out each neighborhood so that it's clear how everyone voted. And then we move on to the next one. So we vote on every single project. So it takes a while. April?
I wasn't here when we did this the first time. I was in the hospital, unfortunately. Do we start then from the top with A?
We start
And
from the top of A for those projects where there's a conflict of interest.
Oh, okay. And
We do
then
those
how do we
first.
proceed after?
And
that?
then it starts at the neighborhood again. So that way all the conflict of interest ones are taken care of and we're not having to have people in and out throughout all voting night.
So we have to go through all 115, is
We
it?
vote on every single project.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, takes time. It actually went surprisingly fast last time.
I also want to make one more thing clear too. The voting card paddles that Tom's talking about, will also have them available for alternates this time because, like you were mentioning, the conflict issue. Some may be in chambers too, and some may be on Zoom. So we're going to have one for everybody.
Okay. So you're going to want to make, if you're planning on being remote for voting night, make sure you pick up your voting pack or else you won't be able to vote.
Correct.
So,
That's it. Thank you.
okay. Spokesperson reports, don't have any thing to report other than we're I'm monitoring. I know some other members are monitoring how the budget situation is happening with the city, and we're being told still there will be projects. So we'll see. And we've told, actually, from my personal standpoint, I've raised the issue of that if you are looking at declaring an emergency, taking the funds, do it before we do the final vote. So we don't have the situation of taking away money or not approving something that got approved for a second time.
Another question.
Yeah.
Rick, what happens, like you said, supposedly we have 4 million some odd, supposedly right now. But we don't, if we don't know, then we're sort of left in the dark if something gets voted in and there's no money for it.
As of right now, process is still moving forward.
Okay.
Now, the way it will work is once we approve a project and on voting night, it still has to go to the city council to be voted on. So until they formally have voted on it, it's not funded. So, yeah, but as been told, they're planning on having it continue. So we will see. Jamie?
So we still need to set the amount of the contingency we want to hold back.
That's actually on the agenda tonight,
Okay.
item 5.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on now to item 4, which is public comment on projects from Oak Grove through Villa del Monte and community wide. The way we'll work it is as we'll go neighborhood by neighborhood. As we start each neighborhood, Tom will do a quick run through of what are all the projects in that neighborhood. At that point, we'll open it to public to speak on any projects in that neighborhood. Tell us what they think about them, good, positive, whatever. This is your chance to advocate for or against various projects. Once all public comment is finished, we'll bring it back to the committee. And for any questions or final comments at that point, and then we'll move on to the next neighborhood and work our way through. We will be doing all of the citywides at one time, so it will be, we may be bouncing around on our list a bit as we get there, but it was, rather have it get taken care of at one time than try to figure out how many people are going to be speaking to which project and so forth. Last 2 weeks ago, it went fairly smooth and quick, so we'll see. As long as Mr. Dawson keeps himself in check, we'll be okay. I'm joking.
Sorry, you have Tammy's hand raised and I wasn't sure, Tammy, if that's in regards to the spokesperson report section.
Tammy? Tammy, I see your hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello? Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Okay, I just want to find out, is the citywide going to be after the neighborhoods or are they going to be mixed in with the neighborhoods?
No, we're going to go from Oak Grove through Villa del Monte, then do the citywide.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Tom, Oak Grove.
Let's go. And I do have a few slides that I left at the
Yep.
top of every presentation. First, a map of the neighborhoods. The second, here's our flow chart. We are reviewing the second half of the projects this evening. Here's just a written schedule. We began the process with 205 projects this year. There were 120 that were defunded in 2020. There were 65 projects nominated in 2020 when our program was ceased. We just never proceeded with them. And there were also 20 projects that were nominated this year in 2020 for a total of 205 projects. After the first I guess it's 4 meetings that we've held so far. There are 150 projects on the list tonight. And here are just the number of projects. We reviewed these 2 weeks ago on May 19th. They total 66 projects. And then this evening, we have 84 projects that are up for discussion. You can see the community-wide are 59 of those. So that will be the big neighborhood this evening. We've also brought this to the Museum and Cultural Arts Commission, the Parks and Rec Commission, and the Traffic Advisory met to review the traffic-related projects as well. So in Oak Grove this evening, there are 3 projects that will be discussed. Here's a list of them. I'll show this again at the end. The first is the La Playa Park Lane pedestrian bike crossing. That's the rec trail right there.
Excuse me, Tom, you're not sharing the screen online?
Thank you. Always something.
Got it.
Thank you, Kurt. Okay, so here's La Playa Park Lane pedestrian crossing at the recreation trail. And 2020 for estimate $75,000 for the crossing. The second project is at Sloat Avenue, right off Mark Thomas Drive for our neighborhood sign there. The third project this year nominated in Oak Grove is at Sloat Avenue and Del Monte Avenue. It's a bike infrastructure project that will turn out to look at the design of the entire intersection. And those are the 3 projects this evening up for discussion from Oak Grove.
Okay, any member of the public that wishes to speak on any of those 3 projects, please, if you're on Zoom, raise your hand. Or if you're in the council chambers, you can approach the dais. I see Lee Shahinian online. You want to go ahead, please, and unmute?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, it's actually just a small correction. It's not Park Lane, but Park Avenue. The Park Avenue crosses the rec trail there, and that's the intersection in question. So we have into the Del Monte Townhome Complex, cars go in and out of there, and to do that, they have to cross the rec trail. And so this is basically just to raise awareness, both on the part of pedestrians, bicyclists, animals, pets. There's a lot of traffic on that rec trail, as you know, and Luz Adam can speak to this. I'm sure she's present, but I think those of us who go in and out of that Del Monte Townhome Complex try to pay special attention to that intersection. But I've got to tell you, the bikes come quickly, the little kids on scooters come quickly. It's a variety of traffic. It moves. It's in bursts and spurts. And I think anything we can do to better demarcate that intersection is going to put a lot more people at ease and more carefully approach that intersection. But again, just a small correction: Park Avenue rather than Park Lane.
Thank you. Any other member of the public who wishes to speak to the Oak Grove projects? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission. Anyone have any questions or would like to add anything to at this time? Luz, go ahead.
Well, I just want to emphasize the safety on the OG1, and that it's not the safety of the cars alone, but the cars are the bigger element there that they also need to be aware. So whatever we do is going to bring awareness, not just to the pedestrian, the bikes, the dogs, but also to the whoever crosses that on an automobile. So that's very crucial on this project. And do we need to talk about the other two or just one right now?
It's your choice, but you'll have a chance to speak to them on voting night.
Okay, so the sign at the entrance of Mark Thomas and Slot, that's a sign that we were supposed to have had years ago, and it's very crucial that the entrance to our neighborhood be identified as a neighborhood, therefore making the drivers aware with their speed, because they don't. So a sign, we think that will make them more conscious that they are entering a family neighborhood, and that will be something that will help. And the third project, well, needs to be designed, there needs to be a study. We still don't know how we're going to approach that, but it is a problem in that intersection with bikes and also pedestrians and crossing a busy street. Thank you.
Thank you, Luz. Any other member of the commission? Go ahead.
On OG1, I wanted to ask, have there been any documented safety incidents at that intersection? In all my travels on the rec trail, I've got to say, that seems to be the safest pass through I've witnessed. I know at De La Vina, there's a big project underway and there have been documented safety incidents there. I'm wondering if the same applies here.
I'm unaware of that, but we'll get into it. That'll be the first step with the project. But the way I remember it being explained was that it would be a raised rec trail, so to be a little bit higher, so cars would have to slow down going over before they went across it.
But to my way of thinking, a 3.5-inch rise would create its own set of problems. Just my thinking.
Wait.
A question on OG3, which isn't really about OG3, it's about the description. If something is labeled study and design and the estimate is 200,000, does that mean the study and design is 200,000?
Yes,
And if they actually do something there, it'll be
a whole lot more.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, well, actually, I can't say it'd be a
Can't
whole
say,
lot more. It's
yeah.
not a fair
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah.
We would know what the cost is as a result of the design.
Okay, thank you.
But the design, yes, that would be the 200,000. I think they've got to do a lot of traffic studies on it and a lot of other work on there too. And there's also private property involved on that, the intersection too, they have to figure out. Okay, let's move on.
And actually, it looks like Luz has her.
Luz, do you
raised.
still have your hand up or?
Yes. In regards to that Slot Avenue and Del Monte, yes, you just mentioned that the window on the bay was in hopes that they could buy all the properties on that street avenue, and that hasn't happened for various reasons. Therefore, the fact that when they cross that street from Slot towards the Red Trail or the beach, there is a private property that people have to go around through the very short sidewalk and then go into the trail. So that is one part of the problem. And the study and implementing any solutions, I really don't know. It seems too much money, but I don't have any knowledge on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Luz. Okay, we'll close out the hearing on Oak Grove. Let's move on to Old Town.
And there are 7 projects this evening that are nominated in the Old Town neighborhood. I'll just flip through them pretty quickly here. And I think everyone can read that. If I just leave it on this view, I'm sorry, I'm juggling too many things tonight. The first is the American Legion Harrison Street Walkway renovation. We have a preliminary cost of $25,000 to restore the walkway there. This project number 2 is Larkin Park, the swings installation on the school up there. Project number 3 is the irrigation and turf renovation for approximately $125,000. Project number 5 is the neighborhood signs for Old Town. Project number 6 is an accessible park. This is a desktop analysis study, just looking for a parcel that might be useful as a park. There's a project number 8 for Old Town historic lighting. We got some more information on this today. So we know exactly what was proposed, but we have our preliminary cost. This will change before voting night of $200,000 on that one. And Old Town project number 9 is the conduit installation pilot program, which requested $250,000. And those are the 9 projects that are in Old Town this evening.
Okay, at this point, we'll open the public hearing on the Old Town projects. So any member of the public who please raise your hand or approach the dais. Okay. I see no hands raised online or anyone approaching the dais. Bring it back to the commission. April?
I can share some information. The person who proposed the last 2, Old Town 8 and Old Town 9, was here for briefly and then she left. I'm not sure if something came up, but she could more easily address that. Old Town 1, we really need the walkway and the stairway repaired. They're really starting to fall apart, and I think it's an accident waiting to happen. And it's heavily used by lots of people. So that we really are in favor of. The swings, I know there's discussion on swings, but Louis had come up with a swing type that he thought was good for that location and wasn't too expensive. My other question would be, what about, I forget what you called them, the ones that were more for handicapped people?
The
Or where there were
expression
2
swings.
Expression.
Yeah.
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 Maybe that would be one option. I'm just leaving that open. The turf and irrigation is an issue because we were told by Mr. Krebs several years ago that we shouldn't have been paying the water bill, and the city has been. Have you found out about that?
Yes, I spoke with Louis Marcuzzo, the
Uh-huh.
parks. He's the parks guy, but he's the
He's the park-
director of facility. I don't know what his title is. I'm sorry.
He's the parks guy.
Yeah,
Parks
he's the
guy.
parks guy. But he said that we are not paying that the backflow preventer, the meter, the water, there's a lock on it that the school has placed on ours. So
So we should
We're
have nothing to
not-
do with that, right?
correct. Yeah.
So, I mean,
It-
to
it-
me, that could be taken off. Or no,
Well, it's still a project.
project, and
Right.
it can be, but it doesn't have to get any votes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the people who proposed this have passed away. I have no way of reaching them. Old Town neighborhood signs, we'd like maybe just 1 or 2. I don't want sign overload, but something, there's that big one that's halfway up Franklin, but that's gigantic. We're just asking for maybe 1 or 2 strategically placed that lets people know you're coming into a neighborhood, slow down a little bit. This is, a neighborhood with children. And let's see, the next one.
Accessible.
Accessible park. We came up, well, I shouldn't say we had a neighborhood meeting and several people thought of this. What about parcel that's back here behind City Hall where the houses are going to be demolished and used for what I was told, low cost housing for families? Is that correct? Or no?
There is a project for the city has a proposal. There are people who are working on a design for the back parking lot
Uh-huh.
over here for just some type of house. I don't know what type of housing it is, but
That would be a perfect opportunity. It wouldn't cost the city anything. It's their property already. Could they work with us on building some type of park within that whole construct? And I want to ask if there's anybody here from Parks and Rec. Wasn't that part of their say so that they wanted a park in every neighborhood? That would be one less expensive way of doing it if we could put it there.
But OT6 is to look for places.
Yeah,
Okay.
there, I don't, it's really, really difficult.
Oh,
I've walked the neighborhood a lot and everything that's,
This is to formalize the process to actually look for a park, not to buy a site, not to
Mhm.
build it, but to identify potential
Alright.
locations.
all right. And then again, the lady who was here for the historic lighting, she sent you a packet of pictures, I believe, Tom. And her latest proposal when she talked with me was to maybe in some, I don't know how far money will go, but take it from Pacific and Madison here down to maybe by Troyas or so,
Yes.
and have historic lighting that would look like this is an old place.
Yes.
This is an old town, rather than going up one street. So that was her intention, and I think, yeah, we have pictures there. And the last one was Conduit. That one I have no info on. When I spoke with her before, she said, leave it on, but I said, when I spoke with the representative from Monterey Vista, there was something else in the works, so I know nothing about support or what's going on. I know nothing about it, so.
Okay. Any other members of the commission have any questions or? Jean, go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
The similar project, citywide 10 for conduit installation, is for putting conduit when a street gets totally restructured. So I'm presuming that Old Town, and I think this is Susie Grimes, is imitating the project because the interest in figuring out how to underground remains very keen and increases with every fire. And so it would be that if it passed and it got funded, the engineers would look for a street area that is going to be completely torn up, and they would add to that Measure S money doing the streets. They would add the 250,000 in for putting conduit and placing the ability to string all the underground, all the utility wires underground. So that's the concept.
Thank you. And Tom, to that end, could you check with Measure PNS and see, are there any streets in Old Town which are due to be torn up? I don't know. I'm
They've
just,
mostly torn
yes.
them up already.
yeah, because if there aren't any, then
There's one beginning on Van Buren right out here.
yeah, I just
And a couple
don't
of,
need to know now, just to make sure, are there any in the potential for
yes. we'll
where
check
this
that.
would work? So we know before voting night. Jean, you still have your hand up, or are you?
No.
Okay.
Thanks.
You okay. Okay. Seeing no other hands raised, we'll move on to Ryan Ranch, which has no.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, it looks like we lost sound from you guys in the chamber.
Better now.
Yep.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we got it.
Thank you. I was just saying that there is a project in Ryan Ranch that was on the list. We took it off because it was under construction. The concrete for the ADA parking stall and the ramp to the first tee at the Stinging Jellies disc golf course on Ryan Ranch. Well, up at Ryan Ranch, yeah.
We have no projects
No.
that are going to be on voting
That's
night
just-
for Ryan Ranch. So let's move on to Skyline.
Thank you. I was so excited about that. Skyline has 6 projects this evening, and I'll flip through them quickly. Project number 1 is the Windermere Lower Canyon Drainage Design for $125,000. Project number 3 is the Upper Canyon log drop repair to repair work that occurred there previously. Project number 6 is the Pine Hill Way, Mar Vista Drive, Greenbelt Path replacement. Note on this one is that it is eligible for funding under Measure P and S. Project number 9 is the Skyline Forest, the bridge barriers, resurfacing and graffiti removal. Project number 14 is Skyline Forest Drive, traffic signs near Holman Highway to prevent U-turns. And project number 15 is for repainting the entry signs into Skyline Forest at 2 locations. And those are the 6 projects in
Okay,
Skyline.
we'll open the public hearing for the Skyline Forest projects. Please raise your hand if you're on Zoom or approach the dais if you're in chambers. Okay. I'm not seeing any hands raised online and no one's approaching chambers, so we'll close the public hearing and bring it to the commission. Anyone in the commission wish to speak to or have questions? Mr. Skyline Forest.
Not a question, but the city engineers have opined on SK1 that the repair of the lower canyon really isn't necessary. Originally, that had about $970,000 of funding that was accumulated over years. But if it's not necessary to do, let's not suck up budget on it. The upper Windermere Canyon, the log drops need to be repaired or it's going to erode and go away. So that one pretty much needs to be done. On SK6, the green belt could be done by Measure S&P. Is it going to be, or is it?
Now that we're aware of it, yes, it's gotten on the list.
So that one's less of a money grab there. Love to do that SK9 because of the graffiti paint that has been painted over, but hate the price tag at $25,000 because we have to get Caltrans blessing to close the road to be able to do the painting, which is why it's so expensive. Traffic signs, the traffic portion of the HOA board says that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but love to hear public testimony on that. And the last one, be nice to get repainted.
Okay. Any other member of the commission wish to speak to any of the items in Skyline Forest? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on Skyline. Oops, sorry. I mean, I think I can't see you raising your hand. Sorry.
Just a quick question. I had down that there might be HOA assessment monies for 15.
That, in speaking again with the parks guy, Louis Marcuzzo, he said, no, it's not covered. It's only for landscaping.
There's been an ongoing debate about that. It's supposed to be for landscaping of the cul-de-sac center islands in the blocks that have cul-de-sacs. And there is a water meter on every one of those for watering said vegetation. That does not occur currently, but it's there.
Okay, any other members of the commission? And then let's close Skyline Forest public hearing, move to Villa Del Monte.
And we have 9 projects this evening in Villa Del Monte. There they are briefly. Project number 1 is for a radar speed sign, location to be determined. Project number 2 is for traffic calming for medians at the Palo Verde, Encina, and Garden intersection. Project number 3 is again traffic calming phase 2. It's at the Casa Verde Encina intersection for a curb extension. Project number 8 is for a hardscape mural under the freeway, under the Highway 1 bridge on Casa Verde Way. Project number 10 is Ramona Avenue screening, replacing trees that have died and been removed. And project 11 is Ferrante Park playground upgrade. It's an enlargement. This is one small piece of the Ferrante Park upgrades report project that was completed several years ago. But there will be, I was looking at this morning and realized like, oh, if we built that park, that road automatically will have to become a one-way street. So we'll have some coordination with the rest of the recommendations in that project. Project number 12 is for Casa Verde Helvik for a neighborhood sign. And project number 13 is for sidewalk repairs. This project also is eligible for Measure P&S funding, so it can be taken. It's on the list currently for that, now that we're aware of it. And project number 14 is for Casa Verde Way for bike infrastructure. We had assigned a cost of $30,000 to do striping for sharrows only. If we're going to change the current existing situation to put bike lanes over there, we'll lose parking, which I think is a no-go from the neighborhood. And those are the projects from Villa Del Monte.
Okay, open the public hearing for the Villa Del Monte projects. Anyone can please raise your hand online if you wish to address any of the projects or approach the dais. Okay, there are no hands raised, so we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Anyone at the commission wish to speak to any of the projects at this point? You will have a chance on voting night too to advocate for projects as well. So, yes, I see a hand coming.
I wasn't sure if we had some other two questions. I have down in my notes that there may be not support for VMD3 from one of the neighbors that would be impacted by the loss of the space.
That was my comment, and I haven't heard anything back from it. But if you look at the photo on that one, you can see that the other three corners of that had been improved at some point, and this one is still not completed. So we have
So actually, it's mostly done.
it's 3/4 done, correct? Yeah.
And then the second question was VDM 11. Somebody in the neighborhood actually reached out to me and said they'd never heard about making it one way and were concerned. So does the traffic calming plan already have that covered? So that's an okay thing to do?
This was there was a project, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, that NCIP undertook to look at how we could improve the traffic flow and whatnot around the park over there. And you can just see on this image to the right, the yellow area is the area where the road would be removed. The two-way road would be removed. If you look on the left end of that, you can see parking along that whole street at a 45-degree angle. The street would become a one-way street, and there is a plan that was prepared to do that. This project is looking at just the kind of the tail end of that whole one-way street. I understand, and I don't know the details, and Cody's not here tonight, but the neighborhood was in support of this, that they went out. So the people who live along the street are in favor of the one-way, but the other details I don't know right now.
Mm-hmm. Tom?
This brings up a van tour. We threshed this thing out on the van tour. We had about 20 people there. Everybody was in favor of it. There was nobody against it. And I question, are we having a van tour this year? I don't see it on the schedule.
It's not, no van tour this year.
I mean, that
I'm not certain they're actually allowed because we're deliberating then with no public available to be with us.
well, we had to publish the list, they had to post it before. So that people could attend, but some of these projects got a long look-see during the van tour. And the more complicated they were, to be able to understand them.
Excuse me. Tom, could you just have a read from the city attorney if it's possible for us to do van tours? If so, we could reinitiate them in the next season.
I mean, I don't know if there are projects for a van tour. There usually are.
And I would like to pile on that. It's very helpful to have a van tour.
Tammy Jennings and Richard Russello. Go ahead, Terry.
Hi, I wanted to talk about the previous, you can put up the list again. I can tell you which one it was, but it was the one where the traffic calming, traffic calming, I guess it was 2 or 3. And I guess it was 3 that you were saying that somebody was, had problems with. Yeah, I just drove by there today and it is going to really be difficult if they take out that corner and put in a sidewalk out that far. So I understand where that the people that have the businesses right there on that corner were, I guess, questioning that. And as you drive towards the highway from Del Monte right there, it just narrows really a lot right there. So that's my only comment. I don't know if it's going to be done or not, but okay.
Thank you, Ms. Jennings. Richard?
Yeah, on the van tour, what everybody's failing to discuss is we're still in a pandemic, and to jam a bunch of people in the van is not a wise idea. Whether anybody wants to believe it, we are in a 5th wave surge. It's there, the numbers are there. The CDC moved us from green to yellow, which is moderate risk. That's why we're not having a van tour. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Any other members of the commission?
I'll drink to that.
Okay, we'll close public hearing for Villa Del Monte and we'll move on to citywide, which is what I think everyone's here for and online for.
All right. There are 59 projects community-wide this evening. And I'll flip through the list at the beginning.
Richard, if you could lower your hand.
And then we'll just go through them quickly one by one. Project number 1 is the Holman Highway Presidio Gate. This project, everyone is in agreement that it will not become a project. When it was proposed was before the base was closed to public traffic. And now at this point, it's not a project. There's no one who's removed it, so it's still on the list. But I haven't heard of anyone supporting it yet. Project number 2 is the Historic Master Plan for Art through downtown. Project number 5 is a Public Art Security Plan. And this is one where city policy will be needed prior to installing the security cameras on this project if it's approved or recommended. Project number 9 is a community-wide restroom study. This would be to look at all the areas in the city and identify locations for restrooms. Project number 10 is the one we discussed earlier, the conduit installation pilot project. Project number 11 is for bike repair stations along the rec trail, for 2 of them. Project number 12 is for water bottle refill stations along the rec trail. Project number 13 is for accessible beach mats at beaches in town. Project number 14 is for a preliminary engineer's report for utility undergrounding project in the city. Project number 15 is for a 6-court pickleball complex at Orion Ranch near the Stinging Jellies disc golf course. Project number 16 is a community-wide tree inventory. Project number 17 is Greenbelt fuel reduction, community-wide, that's throughout the city. Project number 18 is for solar car charging stations, location to be determined. Project number 19 is El Dorado Street. There's a driveway reconstruction for, I forget if it's 5 or 6 driveways on El Dorado Street. Project number 20, Fremont Street and Via Maratha, as a traffic signal was requested. We are recommending that the warrant study be the first step of the process to determine whether enough collisions have occurred at that location before we start putting much larger money toward designing something there.
Part of that's the damn turn lane, the intersection. I mean,
Tom,
you know,
we're just getting, quick thing, then we're
it
going to
doesn't
public
look like
hearing.
it's a feasible project.
It's on the project for a warrant study, which would say if it's feasible or not, if we want to spend the money for that.
Project number 21 is for beautification of North Fremont. And this is another one. This, in discussing it over the last few weeks, we realized that we would need water credits if we're going to install landscaping in the islands there. And that is an issue that will have to be resolved. Project number 22 is on Old Salinas Highway. It's for traffic, or not a traffic light, a pedestrian lighting. So it would be a street light on that utility pole toward the end of the street. Project number 23 is Jocelyn Canyon, the radar speed signs. Project number 24 is at Del Monte Beach and Monterey Bay Park for fence and sign repair. Project number 25 is at Lake Elistero for the Great Blue Heron structure to restore and support it, the foundation for that. Project number 28 is at the Pacific, it's on Pacific Street at the library entrance to add a street light to that project. Project number 29 is another restroom. This was a formerly funded study project. We're recommending that the study, the citywide study, community-wide project number 9 precede installation of any of the restroom projects this year. Project number 30 is waterfront, the wayfinding signs near Fisherman's Wharf. Project number 31 is Dennis and Menace, the Expression Springs swings that we were talking about earlier. Project number 32 is the Sports Center pool modernization. We've added more detail on what the project will cover, as well as the requested cost estimate for that. Project number 33 is the bike and pedestrian path design around Elistero Park. Project number 34 is flashing beacons at the crosswalk on Fremont Street and Munris. Project number 35 is along Fremont Street. It's a decomposed granite walkway along Fremont on the south end of Elistero Park. Project number 36 is a shade structure at the Elistero Park picnic area. Project number 37 is at Jack's Park. It's to install artificial turf on the infield. Cody. Project number 38 is Elistero Park, again, for play equipment upgrade. Project number 39 is the par course upgrade. This is the calisthenics or the exercise facility over there. Project number 40 is at Solicito Ballpark. Is to upgrade the field lighting and install LED lights. Project number 41 is at the old Capitol site. It's the fuel reduction and cleanup for that. Project number 42 is also at the old Capitol site. It's to develop a master plan for using the facility, the property. Project number 43 is the Pacific Street corridor for an adaptive traffic signal system. Project number 45 is at Cannery Road. It's the Worker Shacks restoration. Project number 46 is at the Recreation Trail. Also, it's just signage for restrooms along the Recreation Trail. Project number 47 is also along the Rec Trail to restore and add signage to the fish hopper that's in place over there. Project number 48 is to replace the DG walkway with something more permanent. Project number 50 is a recreation trail study. This is one that is recommended before. So that the Traffic Advisory Committee recommended that we include extensive public outreach on this because there will be, or everyone expects there to be plenty of discussion about this topic. The Traffic Advisory Committee also recommended that there should be some policies or at least the implications of using the electric bikes would also be considered. On this one, we had $75,000 for the study, and then probably about the same amount for public outreach that would be needed on that. Project number 51 is to actually delineate the lanes in the busiest section of the rec trail between Fisherman's Wharf and the Coast Guard Pier. Traffic Advisory Committee, again, just recommended that the study precede implementation so we can get plenty of feedback on and find something that will work. Project number 52 is to install automated bike counters, and the Traffic Advisory Committee recommended that we get one that collected speed data in addition to just counting the traffic that goes by. Project number 53 is at Schultzy Park. This is the Parks and Rec staff actually submitted this project to look at creating a hardscape area where the seniors who use the Schultzy Park Center can go and have outdoor activities over there. So they've asked for $65,000 for the initial design of that. So it would not be construction funding. Discussed that, I guess, a while ago. Project number 54 is Lighthouse Avenue, a pedestrian improvement study. This will be an expensive study, but the request was to eliminate right turns from Lighthouse onto the side streets. It just take a lot of time in the field counting vehicles. Project number 55 is the police and fire, the honor garden right in front of the police station here on Pacific. Project number 56 is the Path of History mural that will be installed at the Rodriguez Ocio Adobe. Project number 57 is Colton Hall to continue and add more plaques in the pavement, the brick pavement in front of the jail. Project number 58 is at Ryan Ranch, the RV storage lot for security cameras. This is another one where city policy will be required before we're able to install the cameras. Project number 59 is the bike trail upgrade for a bike path that goes between Viejo Road and Holman Highway. Project number 61 is for the Veterans Park bike path, segment 4, and this is for the design of that. Project number 62 is also at Veterans Park. It's for improvements to the basketball court to enlarge the court and make it a full-size half court. Project number 63, Veterans Park, is the bocce court resurfacing. Project number 64 is the redesign of the Villa Del Rey and Veterans Park intersection. The Traffic Advisory Committee recommended redesigning it prior to putting construction money toward it. Project number 66 is at Ellis Park. It's lake edge improvements from 2012, and this is one where significant permitting issues will be necessary to make this move forward. Another one where environmental permitting issues exist is at Veterans Park, the day use area erosion control, project number 68. Project number 69 is the Monterey Bay Park restrooms. Again, staff is recommending that we do the community-wide restroom study before constructing restrooms. Project number 70 is the Monterey Bay Park shower station. Project number 71 is at Munris and Soledad intersection for freeway entrance signage. And project number 72 is the Franklin Street corridor adaptive traffic signal system that was proposed in 2020. And those are the projects proposed community-wide for discussion this evening.
Thank you, Tom. At this point, we'll open the public hearing for all citywide projects. So if you're attending via Zoom, please raise your hand. And if you're in the council chambers, you can go ahead and approach the dais and line up, keeping a little bit, or take your time coming up one at a time. I don't think we're going to be, that way we can keep it apart. Okay, we'll take the first young lady in the conference chambers, and then we'll go to Blake Matheson in Zoom next.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ellen McEwen, and I'm a commissioner for Parks and Recreation. And I'm going to speak to the priority projects in citywide. I just have some brief comments. I thought I'd do them all at once, if that's okay with
Please do.
you. All right. Number 100 is the Pickleball 6-court complex. Pickleball is a beloved and growing sport for all ages. It's hard to have in our quiet neighborhoods, so this site in Ryan Ranch is ideal. The grant would help make a much needed 6-court complex a reality, so we ask for your support. Okay, so the next one is the one closest to my heart, which is the Sports Center modernization. The Sports Center modernization project, as I said, is close to my heart. It is a priority project for Parks and Recreation, and Mayor Clyde Robertson asked me to express his strong support of this project as well. I am also a family physician and I work at community hospital. Every day I see how isolation, loneliness, and a sedentary lifestyle can ravage people's health and well-being. It has been especially bad during the pandemic, and it is time to turn this around. The Monterey Sports Center has been a welcoming place to gather, make friends, learn a new sport, and get in some life-affirming movement and exercise for 30 years. A generation of children have been raised to become healthy and well-adjusted adults, thanks to the fitness, fun, and life skills learned at the Monterey Sports Center. It is time to reinvest generously in this incredible facility. The pool modernization is a centerpiece of this project. It is an investment in the health and well-being of our community, and I strongly ask for your support. Thanks.
Number was that?
I'm sorry?
What number was that? 32.
32.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
The Sports Center. Okay, so let's see. The next one we have is, I have it listed as 115. Oh, it's CW 32. Yes, you're right. The next one is the Ellis Park Shade Structure, number 119.
19.
CW 36. I have an alternate page here, sorry. Ellis Park is a well-loved and popular site for families and picnic gatherings next to Dennis.
That's time. Sorry, 3 minutes.
Since I'm speaking on so many subjects, can I have more than 3 minutes?
Go ahead, since you're also speaking as part of the commission. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just read through them quickly here. The shade structure would allow for more comfortable and protected enjoyment under a wider range of weather conditions. It's a priority project. Let's see, CW 37, the infield turf. The ball field is used by our youngest ball players, Monterey High softball, as well as the city leagues. It would actually get more play with the better infield. Upgrading this from dirt to turf is a priority project and would enhance play for all players. Ellis Park Play Center equipment upgrade. This is really decrepit equipment. It's the oldest in the city, right here in the heart of Monterey. We strongly support modernization and upgrade. The park course upgrade, exercise stations around Ellis Lake have become shabby, outdated, and hard to maintain. Upgrading and modernization are relatively modest in cost and would revitalize the lovely park trail and the fitness experience of the user. Solicito Ballpark, that's CW 40. This ballpark is well used and has thrived due to community investment. It has excellent turf infield and outfield. All it lacks is the LED lighting installation, which will save money and costs. Solicito Ballpark is where recreation softball leagues, high school baseball teams, men's senior team, as well as the professional Amberjacks play. Let's light them up. Rec trail study. This is CW 50. We strongly encourage this one prior to any implementation. We need engineering, we need traffic, and we need community input before we proceed any further. Okay, that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, I'll give you one question.
One question. So we also have a request for the park course kind of equipment over at Schultz Park. Did the parks look at the equipment over there versus Elistero?
I think Elistero is a higher priority. The Schultz Park Center were very interested in doing the study. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, they're doing a study to see what
Yeah.
can go there.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was
only
the actual
thing that-
equipment.
No,
The only thing that's up for funding is the study right now.
Yeah.
We're interested in some adult, maybe a meditation quiet area and perhaps some adult or more senior type equipment. But we would want community input on what's needed there. Thank you.
Okay, Blake Matheson online. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Do you all read me loud and clear?
Sure.
Over and over.
Yep.
Thank you guys very much. I'd like to speak on the old Capitol site matter. I believe it's number 42. I apologize if that's wrong. Again, my name is Blake Matheson, and this is about the master plan portion in particular. Property owner, and also I'm president of the Monterey Regional Audubon Society, who has several thousand members, many of whom live in the city of Monterey. I also own 35 acres that adjoin the old Capitol site. And I wanted to impress upon this body and the city just what a precious opportunity it is, a precarious opportunity right now. But examples of mixed Monterey pine live oak forest with a relatively intact understory don't exist really anywhere else in the world. And all one need do is get the satellite photos of the Monterey Peninsula over recent decades, and you can see that native forest fragmentation play out in real time. The old Capitol site is not just important from a floral perspective, but it's critical for a whole suite of wildlife, including many species of birds dependent on this declining forest, including listed and protected species like the olive-sided flycatcher, which is a species of special concern. At the same time, as a property owner that neighbors these sites, I am the first to acknowledge there's a lot of work that has to be done to protect the safety of potential park goers and also of adjacent property owners in the form of the homeless problem that we all know about and face, as well as the fire hazards. And this underscores to me the importance of developing an intelligent master plan, a partnership between bodies like these in the city and stakeholders, where we can overlay public access and safety against this long-term broader goal of salvaging what remains of this kind of habitat and wildlife refuge. And I would point to a great and encouraging example in the city of Pacific Grove, where George Washington Park was suffering in derelict really from a lack of management. And a group of concerned citizens got together, and with the help of Monterey Audubon Society, which acted as a 501c3 and sponsor to help support the city, have gotten together in community days to restore that park, prioritizing the planting and protection of native species, cleaning up garbage, cleaning up invasive species. So this is a great opportunity. I couldn't be more grateful to Pebble Beach and the city of Monterey for creating this opportunity. But it is going to require a lot of thought and a lot of planning. So the Audubon Society and I are really supportive of making this happen. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And Tammy, I see your hand up, but you're also a panelist, so you'll get a chance after we close the public hearing portion to speak to any of the projects. So it's not that I'm ignoring you. Okay. Mr. Dawson.
I'm Mike Dawson.
And then, hold on a sec. And then after Mike, we'll have Betty, who's online.
I'm just here to speak about cleaning up the old Capitol site. We had a tour, several of us were on this tour that were given by the police department, and they told us touch nothing, because a lot of those camps have extremely hazardous material, and it's sort of in the understory. It's just under the surface of the soil, and there's drug paraphernalia, there's batteries, there's all kinds of really bad stuff in all of those camps. And without thinking about the camps too much, there's trees that are just about to fall. I mean, there's a lot of widowmakers out there that need cleaning up. And the park is closed now for good reason. Number one, to keep the homeless campers out. And number two, because there's a lot of unsafe materials that you'll see and hopefully won't touch while you're up there. We have a group of like-minded souls we call Save Monterey's Forest, and we're concentrating on that park. And so I consider it part of my neighborhood, Alta Mesa. Lee considers it part of her neighborhood, Glenwood Circle. And so we're really kind of standing here giving a little nudge to getting that park reopened. It was never a park yet, but it will be soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Okay, Betty, who's on Zoom. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Betty Nee Williams, and I'm here to speak on CW 13, the beach access mats. I'm the executive director for MS Monterey, which is a local organization for persons with MS and Parkinson's in the area. I would like to say approximately 3/4 of our members use some type of mobility devices, and they have difficulty getting to the beach to enjoy this area of Monterey. And they either use a cane or a walker, scooter, wheelchair. And we live in Monterey to enjoy this area, to feel the breeze on our face, the spray of the ocean, and to play with our children and grandchildren down in the sand and by the water. And as most things that are accessible, it also avails itself to other people, such as people with baby carriages. So please consider these accessible beach mats for all that live in this area. And I thank you for your time and support.
Thank you very much. Next will be Alex Girard, followed by John Sovereign. You'll have full chance when we bring it back to the panel.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, so my name is Alex Girard, and I'm the manufacturer of the access map. And he's talking about the project for the accessible beach mat CW13. The reason why those maps exist is precisely for all the reasons that, like the lady before me explained. There is people that are in wheelchair that need access. There's also people that have baby strollers, canes, and all these people need access to the water, or at least to the beach. In order to do that, we make these maps. I believe you have samples. Yeah, you do. Okay. So these mats, it's 100% barrier obstacle free mat to meet the ADA guidelines. It's made of recycled non-woven material, and so there's no problem with any wear and tear or fraying of the mats. They got like aluminum connectors that overlap, so that create a seamless transition between the mats. And we also have grip strip on it to add additional traction and safety. They are rollout mats, so they can be easily stored and installed. And the bottom line is that they don't really interfere with the operation on the beach or the maintenance. They can be removed pretty easily or quickly with the proper manpower if there is a storm coming or surge coming. You can easily add like sections to change the length of the access. You can create turns, you can create like T shapes, L shapes. And we've actually designed already 3 accesses on the beach of Monterey. I believe there was one in Del Monte Beach, in Thailand Avenue, another one in Beachway, and the first one was in Monterey Beach House. These maps will make such a difference for the people in Monterey, for everyone. And you know, we've equipped a bunch of locations in California, and Monterey should be one for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. John Sovereign. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good evening. Thank you for this time. I'll be very brief. As you know, this project was nominated in the last round before COVID, and I just wanted to appreciate the support from the Parks and Rec Commission and hope to see this project given priority. Thank you very much.
I'm assuming you're meaning the beach match?
No, I'm sorry, the pickleball complex.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Because you
Yeah.
didn't indicate which project, so just wanted to make sure we knew which one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead in council.
My name is Jason Wax. I am the person who was submitting CW 51, restriping the rec trail into separate sides so that users, pedestrians would have a safe place to walk. I hadn't planned on speaking tonight because I sent you all a letter, which to a great extent prevented my need for speaking tonight. But when I heard that there's an alternative plan, that is to study sidewalks, I couldn't resist moving forward and speaking to the preposterous notion that sidewalks need to be studied. As soon as streets appeared in towns around the world, it was obvious that sidewalks were needed as a safe place for people to walk, children to walk, because they were being run over by carriages and horses. There used to be sidewalks along the waterfront from Alvarado Street to Lighthouse. The city tore them out and put in a rec trail in its place with an undergrounded street with a ton. What we now have is the tunnel. And we haven't had a safe place for people to walk ever since the rec trail was built. We've got Surreys, we've got groups of Segways, we've got e-bikes that are getting bigger and bigger and faster. And all of those wheeled vehicles travel on the rec trail from edge to edge in each direction. People going west travel from edge to edge. People going east travel from edge to edge, and they swerve and weave and dodge pedestrians. They don't have any problem with disabled people though, because disabled people aren't to be found on the rec trail. They know they can't travel on the rec trail because it's too dangerous. Elderly people are getting harder and harder to see there. In fact, if you travel on the rec trail and look around, you don't see many locals anymore. As more and more bikes appear, traveling faster and faster with bigger and bigger wheels, you have fewer and fewer locals. About all that's left down there are wheeled vehicles and tourists who don't know any better. And I don't know where this idea came from that you have to study sidewalks. They're as old as civilization in communes and cities and towns. And so we had last week in Texas, a scenario we all are well aware of. We had 12 policemen studying the idea of going through a door and saving children. They studied it for 1 hour, and during that hour, children were killed. And there's no reason to wait 1 minute longer in this town for some child to get killed, for someone else to get killed on that rec trail, to take action and do what needs to be done. And you have that ability and you need to do it.
Thank you. Okay, Pat McNeil and Mike Sovereign, if it's your hand up again, or is it didn't pull it down? So go ahead, Mr. McNeil. And
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I want to speak to citywide number 70, which is described as a shower at wharf number 2. And the concept is that.
We lost you.
Uh-oh.
Now you're back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
5, 4, 3.
We can hear you.
So the idea is that we would just have a place to hose off. So almost any user that goes to the beach comes back carrying sand. Children come back wet and kelp, and dogs and are a mess and so on. And everybody needs to go back into the city and enjoy their life. So if we could have a place to hose off a slab that would be a transition area to the hard surfaces of the wharf area, it would be a big asset. It could be included in a restroom renovation at wharf number 2. There are currently 2 restrooms and 3 porta potties that testified to the increased traffic over the years. So this could be a part of that. There are many groups that use it. There's the Wahine Project, the Kelp Crawlers, Camp Sea Lab, lifeguard training, tourists, kids, dogs, surfers, swimmers, fishermen, and hundreds of walkers every day. So that's the concept of this shower. There's really a hose off area to get rid of the sand and move on when people leave the beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, a person in Chambers, go ahead and introduce yourself. And
yes, my name is Sherna Stewart. And I wanted to speak to community-wide number 2, the plan. I hope you all were given something that looked like this for CW2. Yeah, this project was first proposed in, I think it was 2016, and a lot of work has been done by Cultural Arts Subcommittee. They put together this draft of all the historic resources in Monterey. And I just wanted to clarify, are you all looking at this, the descriptions in here? Because, yeah, it says here that it's to survey 60 locations for strategic outdoor public art. It's an exaggeration, but it is speaking to the fact that Monterey is not a simple grid plan. And people, sometimes we have a lot of triangles left over. One of the maybe smallest is right near where MST stops at the Transit Plaza, and the largest one I can think of is Spanish. What is it called? Spanish Plaza, up near the Portola and near the conference center, and all of these. And they are all over the city, and there are an awful lot of streets that end in a T intersection. These are all prime locations for trying to make Monterey more comprehensible. It might be with trees, with signs, with art, any one of those different things, just to help people identify what the area is all about. And I wanted to mention, my husband did this book. Maybe do you know it, Monterey, the First Buildings, in collaboration with the state parks. They still sell it down at the History and Art down at the Stanton Center. So I've been interested in history in Monterey for a long time. And I'd like to speak in favor of, I think it was number 16 about the tree survey. I'm very, the gentleman who spoke for as the Audubon person was saying that this Monterey pines are an endangered species. And this is, Monterey pine is so descriptive of Monterey. If you look at the shopping center, that's the whole backdrop, and it's a very handsome thing. And yet we often see East Coast or Midwest trees planted in Monterey.
I'm sorry, that's time.
We have some outstanding pines in Monterey, and we could use a lot more of them. It would be lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike Sovereign, I'll let you go again, but you've used part of your time already, so. What? I don't see online. Unless I'm locked out, which is possible.
Their first speaker was John Sovereign.
Oh, okay, sorry. It happens when I only look at the last name and not the first name. So Mike Sovereign, go ahead, please. That's what you're trying to tell me. Okay. Thank you, Richard. Go ahead, Mike. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Works.
I'm a 50-year resident and member of the city's Commission for Museums and Cultural Arts, and I want to speak to CW 45, which is labeled the Worker Shacks renovation. And we're trying, of course, to call these now the worker housing rather than shacks, but many people are not aware of them. They are very close, about 100 feet from the aquarium. They're right directly across from Doc Ricketts' lab, and they're on the short walkway from Cannery Row up to the rec trail. So there are a lot of people who go by, but may not really understand what they are. We need, to make sure that the integrity of the buildings is maintained. They are indeed original shacks from the cannery workers era. So they need to be tightened up so that water and animals are not getting in, and the security is better. There are some historical artifacts in some of them, and it's also become hard to see into them because the plastic windows have been scratched and aged enough that it's hard to look in. So there's a fair amount of work we need to do to bring those back to being a good representation of Monterey in the real Cannery Row era. So I would like to have you support CW 45 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sovereign. Is there any other member of the public wishing to address any of the citywide projects? Seeing none, I'll return to the commission, and first commission speaker would be Tammy Jennings, followed by Lee Whitney. So Tammy, go ahead.
Hi, I just want to speak on Citywide 13. After the beach mats were approved in 2019, I found out that there were a lot of other people who would be able to use the mats. I happened to mention to a firefighter who was attending our neighborhood picnic, and he was very pleased when I told him that the handicap accessible mats were going to be installed. He said because when they have emergencies on the beach, they have to carry the gurneys through the dry sand, and it's really difficult. He was excited because then now because they would now have easier access to the people on the beach that they were sent there to help. So the project is not only for the handicapped, the mobility challenged, and mothers with strollers, but also rescue personnel, come to find out. So anyway, I again think that it's a necessary thing, and thank you for listening.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Lee, and then it'll be Richard, followed by Kurt.
Thank you. I'd like to speak on two things this evening. First of all, will be CW 18, that the solar charging stations. With the financing of this, I think we should look into the grants with PG&E and with the manufacturers. I've done some research for my property regarding this, and we also might want to do, when we do the standalones, do the dual, so you can have two cars at one time in there, but that would be a suggestion. The other one I'd like to speak on is CW 41 and 42, the old Capitol project. We're right in the middle of fire season, folks. We all know it. We all live through it. And I'll tell you what, unless we get this fuel reduction and get that park cleaned up, get the master plan going and get going on this thing, I would hate to say, guess what? We just lost 135 acres, 136 and a half. And because of the homeless that's in there, that they keep routing them out and they keep going back in. We need to get going on this project. We need to get the master plan going. That's the biggest threat, and it's a threat to all the surrounding neighborhoods, whether it's Alta Mesa or my neighborhood, Glenwood Circle. And I'll tell you what, that'll spread right over to Del Monte Center and all into Monte Vista. It'll go fast with the winds going. So let's get on the project. I support it totally. And I think this is a good project for the city. And I can't remember how many years have we gotten the award to be the tree city. And you see the signs all over. We got to save those trees and save that park. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard, go ahead.
Yes, my first comment is on CW 13, the accessible maps. At the last meeting, I mentioned that I read an article in the Herald several months ago about a nonprofit putting in 2 access mats to the beach in Monterey. I don't know if that happened or not, but I want to know if there's a conflict between this project and the one that nonprofit said they're doing. I'm not sure they did it. So I'd like to get that clarity. And I forget the name of the nonprofit, but I'm sure Tammy saw that article and she might be able to inform us on that.
Yes, I can.
Okay, why don't you do that after my last comment? That is on CW 19, the redo of driveways on El Dorado. There is a present city council vote on not doing those driveways anymore, because in Kona, we never got a chance to get beyond halfway when they took that vote and took that option from NCIP away from us. So we need to clarify whether there is a standing prohibition against that project. Those are my two comments. And now I'll let Tammy explain the nonprofit, which I'm not sure about. Thank you.
Kurt, are you okay with her jumping ahead of you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead, Tammy.
Yes, I found out through just being down there that it's the Wahine project, that they have accessible beach mats, but they have them that roll out and they put them out wherever they are, and it's only for their group. What I'm putting before the board is beach mats that will be there all the time, that will go from the hard pan or the rec trail or the wooden what do you call it, planks, walkways down to the hard pan that would not be taken up, that would be there all the time. They can be taken up if there is a storm surge or whatever, we can remove them, but they would not be removed on a regular basis, where the Wahine project do take theirs up every time they move, they leave. Does that explain everything?
Yes, very well. And I totally agree with you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Kurt, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So I've got a couple actually. On CW 24, that it's listed as Del Monte Beach, but it's not. It's actually Monterey Beach, and it's the dune next to Windows by the Bay Park. And I know the submitter, she wasn't able to be here tonight, but one of the concerns is if that people are going back there all the time and destroying the vegetation there. And so that dune is going to go away. And given the current sea level rise, we need that dune. Otherwise, Del Monte is going to flood very sooner than we want. So we need to get the fence up and the signage back and keep people out of that dune and get it back healthy. The other ones, I guess I'm a little confused. It seems like we have three projects, CW 14, CW 10, and the one in Old Town, all dealing with underground utilities and putting conduit in. It seems like there are two definitely are the same project in my mind. One is for Old Town and the other is listed as community-wide. I think maybe some discussion should go together before voting night and we consolidate those. And then the last one that I had was the street light by the library. It's actually not at the library. It's at the parking lot, the city parking lot next to the library. And there is a power pole already there. So all that needs to happen is to have the light put on the pole and a meter. So I'm sure it's not going to be 20,000. It's probably going to be the 4,000 or 5,000. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean? Or is anyone up here wanting? Okay, and Jean, and then Dennis, and then Jamie.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Kurt and the undergrounding projects. They're separate. They need to stay separate because it's too late to combine them and it's too late to reintroduce them to the community. What they attest to is the interest in finding compatible ways of undergrounding with different sources of funds. And Old Town and Monterey Vista have been working hard to expand funding and creative ideas. And we have been meeting for 4 years, and we'll have more ideas for the community beyond NCIP. So, but for now, what this is saying is Old Town wants to look at a project for conduit placement in a totally restructuring street, and Monterey Vista and Monterey Vista and Old Town have put together citywide 10. And we didn't want to limit it to just Monterey Vista. We wanted the engineers to be able to work with us on a good location that could use the 250,000. It's not going to be a lot of money. It's not going to be a whole area of the community, but it will be a couple blocks or 3 blocks or 4 blocks. It'll be something, and it'll get us started in combining different funding sources. And then the engineering study would be the engineers' ideas on preliminary work for undergrounding. And yeah, in a perfect world, this would all be combined, but we haven't had enough leadership toward undergrounding. So this is the community being the perfect NIP idea where it's coming down from the bottom and coming up to the top because we want undergrounding. So thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
So I have 3 questions. The tree inventory, I'm curious about. All the trees in Skyline Forest have dog tags. They're all marked. Where's that inventory? Is that part of this inventory?
I'm trying to remember where I heard. I sent an email to the forester this week. It was yesterday.
We have a forester?
Yes. We
Oh,
do.
yeah, okay,
An interim.
good.
So, an assistant forester. But I didn't get a response prior to tonight.
Yeah.
But there was a study that was done. I think it was in the description in 2004. So it's outdated. Justin submitted this, the former forester submitted this project in 2020. And at that time, he was saying that the study that was completed in 2004 was outdated, or whatever the date was. So this is to update the information that we have now.
It would seem to me that the other is a basis from which to build on rather than something to just toss and start over. Because every tree in my neighborhood has got a dog tag on it. Number 2 is the reading test on CW 32. What's a new cool desk resurfacing?
It's a typo. It's a deck.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you know I'm looking at the small print.
Thank you. I can't see that.
The third one is undergrounding. I see these undergrounding proposals and I wonder, doesn't it make more sense to bore when you know where you want to put it? That's what AT&T did when they put fiber in Skyline Forest. That's what I did when I put fiber at Laguna Seca. It's easier to bore where you want it to go when you know where you want it to be, rather than put holes in the ground and conduit in the ground that you don't know is ever going to get serviced. And I assume it's cheaper. Is there a reason that you don't want to bore? Because maybe you'd find bones? I doubt it.
It's a whole discussion that I'm not like way up into the weeds on, but I know boring, you can bore through other pipes. There are sewer lines and water lines and things like that, which happens. But yeah, there's a lot of issues involved. You're correct.
Actually, the parks manager called me down to the paddock at the racetrack and said, "You see that hydrant? You see that hydrant? You see that hydrant? You see that 200,000 tank on the roof up on the hill? 14 foot or 14 inch, 12 inch, 10 inch, 8 inch. We have no idea. We have no as-bills. You're boring down here? We never hit a pipe."
Hey, Jamie.
Right. I have a question.
And then it'll be
comment.
Tom.
A question, a comment, and a question. So Old Capitol, we have 41 a study and 42 a cleanup. And my question is, we do have experience here where we've had bulldozers go in and do cleanup and really mess up the birds on parks. So it seems like there would be a recommendation that the study is done first, because when we talk about the precious understory, that's what goes when the bulldozers come in to clean up. So I'm not sure there's been a recommendation regarding do this study first, which is 42, or do both.
I'm not certain that we're talking bulldozers going in to do cleanup. A lot of it is fire cleanup and removal of the non-nature items that are there, I should say.
So that wouldn't affect the understory and
it shouldn't.
the environment. Okay.
The most important things are the fire and making it safer, and safer being the things that have been left behind through recent years.
Okay. That helps.
Jamie, when we went and took our tour through, we had to have 3 police officers with us. That's the only way you can, and they go in there every 2 weeks and kind of see what's going on.
No,
They went all the way back in. They found a 2-story structure that the homeless had put together. There was a stove. It wasn't hooked up to anything, but all that back in there.
That's by cleanup.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the cleanup. And I actually threw the shoes away that I wore and going through that place that time because of unsanitary conditions, and also the aluminum foil that they'd heat up the heroin and needles and things like that because it was so bad. And that was with 3 police officers taking our committee through it.
Very good. So that was question number 1. Comment. Every time I drive by the flat grassy plain that used to be the historic stables up at the Defense Language Institute, I'm very disappointed that we didn't come up with the money because we didn't like the plan, and nobody else did either. And now that history is gone forever. So I would point out that although we get a bit touchy and we don't like being asked for money, CW 45 and CW 47, a fish hopper, and the old Cannery Row housing represent more of those asks. And we can say no, but at some point they do cease to exist. I drive by that all the time. And then the last question is, given that there's so many asks, CW 32 is asking for over 2/3 of our total funding. So
Sports center.
this is the sports center. And so we have supported the sports center again and again and again across the decades. But I do think that the submitter might want to focus it a little bit because that's a lot to ask.
And then William.
I would second your comment. I think Parks and Rec asked for way too much and they didn't really prioritize it. So it basically, I just put no by all of them. So I don't know what you've done. One item that I mentioned before is CW 5. It was a joint submission by myself and Rich Russello, and the cultural arts or somebody. I went to a committee meeting when they made a list of city artwork. Jeff Krebs had it. What happened to it? They met, and the lady that was here before, she already left, and was a chance to ask her a question about if she's been involved for a long time. So they had started on this and this was defunded. Okay. So we need to find out where that is, and hopefully the committee hasn't changed completely, or they have some records or some minutes or something, because they spent like a couple hours on this. The other thing is CW 35. We funded, I swear, NIP funded the DG walkway from along that section, and it just is overgrown. It needs maintenance. This should not be a project. It should be a maintenance project to clean up a project that was done in the past. So this project really, CW 35 really needs to be deleted.
It wasn't completed. It wasn't the full length that was put DG pathway.
Well, yeah, the part that was completed recently is the concrete part between Ellis and the entrance to the cemetery.
The project you're thinking of was never funded.
Then
it was submitted, but never funded years ago. There looks like there's a path there because it's been worn, but it's not an actual DG pathway.
Okay. Without trying to go back through stack the boxes of stuff.
I
I swear we did.
I
But
remember
it
the
looks like
project
most
because I
of
had a
it could be
conflict,
done
couldn't say it.
through maintenance. I would think you need to get Louis over there and take a look at it. It doesn't need to be the whole walkway all along that whole section. And if need be, what parts aren't done could probably be done for a heck of a lot less than 250,000. That's just ridiculous. Because that is a greatly used walkway by visitors and locals. I guarantee you, I drive by there every day, several times a day. So anyway.
Okay. And Jean, do you have your hand up for another go?
Yes, thank you.
You'll be next, and then it'll be Tammy Jennings.
So many of us, all of us are grappling with how to prioritize these.
And it's William first, and then you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Just a couple of things. CW 37, the Jacks Park infield artificial turf for $750,000. I'm not for or against it necessarily. I just a little concerned that I know Monterey High's women's softball is not the principal tenant there, but they do play there, and I just want to make sure that the high school is at least apprised of the idea that we might be doing that, because I think it might affect their ability to use it. I'm just saying every high school, college softball field I've ever seen had a dirt infield.
Yeah.
So I just want to, and again, that wouldn't be that wouldn't necessarily shut it down, I don't think, because they're not the main tenant. But just want to make sure at least that they've been appraised of the plan if it goes forward. But then CW 54, the pedestrian improvement study. If I understand the purpose of this study, the goal would be to determine whether right turns on red lights on Lighthouse should be limited. I have a hard time seeing how that's a capital project. And if that's not a capital project, I'm not sure why we should be doing a study to see if we should be doing it. And that's really all I have to say about that.
Can I just quickly respond to that? Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean,
we discussed this too. The study is not a capital project, but the results of the study could become capital.
But if
So
the study
signals-
is studying the elimination of right turn lanes,
I mean,
right
what's
turns.
capital about that? Maybe putting up.
What's capital about elimination of right turn lane?
you would have to redo all the signals along Lighthouse. So that would be capital.
Okay.
Yep.
When it's my
Okay,
turn, I'm
all
going to speak to it too. So right now, well,
Be worse than it is.
Gene, go ahead. All right, were you finished? Or?
Real quickly, the beach mats. For a few years, I had a condo up along Lake Michigan, and our section of the lake had mats like that, and they got used a lot, and they were really good, and I would support that wholeheartedly.
Okay, thank you. Gene, go ahead.
So we're all grappling with how to prioritize these projects. And I'm really asking Chair and other committee members, will there be, when is it best? We only have enough tonight and voting night to have each community prioritize and rank their projects. We're getting inundated with a lot of letters of support or opposition, and I appreciate those and I'm reading them. But what I really need is to hear from each NCIP rep how their community is ranking them, like we have done many times before when we voted 2 or 3 years ago. So should we do that tonight, or will we have an opportunity to do it on voting night?
I think there will definitely be an opportunity to do it on voting night. You can do it tonight if you wish.
Oh, as long as if there's an opportunity to do it on voting night, that's when we'll do it, because Hans is in Germany and I'd like to involve him.
Well, my druthers would be people do it on voting night, because that way everyone has a chance to read all letters that are being submitted prior to announcing that type of thing.
Right. And I would beg everybody to do that, because I don't know what to do with all the letters of support or opposition. I really need to hear from each NCIP member.
Okay. Tammy, you had your hand up, but I'm not seeing it. Oh, it is. So go ahead, Tammy.
I just wanted to say with regard to the DG pathway by Ellis Park, I have had to use that in my wheelchair. It would be great if it was sidewalk all the way around Ellis, but I know that's not possible. But having that redone so that it's smoother, and whether that's just maintenance and taking out the weeds and leveling it, I don't know. But it would be nice to be able to go down there and use that going downtown. Thank you.
Okay, it'll be Kurt, then Richard, and then I'm going to start, and then we'll be back in here, Scott, and then I'm going to take a chance to say something. So go ahead, Kurt.
I wanted to bring up Schultzy Park and the lighting. That is the home field for the doors. And is there any possibility we can talk to the school district and have them partially fund that rather than NCIP having to fund the whole thing?
We can talk to them. Sure. Historically, the funding that for Schultzy that's come has been raised by the team. Michael Groves is very involved in fundraising for the thing, so we might.
That's how they replaced the infield.
Yep, but it wasn't the school district. That was outside funding.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Kurt?
That's it.
Okay, Richard.
Yes, I'm sitting here considering all the comments that were made at the beginning meetings by the representatives, and I hear the passion on all the new projects. I've read all the letters of support and the letters against projects, but I go back to our first conversations. Everyone there was saying we lost years of meetings, hours of our life on our previous projects. And we got consensus. The council approved the majority of them, and they were all defunded. And what I heard on meeting 1, 2, and 3 was that we were going to concentrate on getting those projects, especially the important ones, back. And now we're talking about ones that are just submitted a couple of months ago. So I'm getting a little confused on your passion here and what you said in the meetings in March and April. So I'm still on that page back then, but I just want to remind everybody, those projects that hundreds of people supported, they were all defunded. Thank you.
Okay, Scott.
Back to the sports center, I have a question about how this is going to play out, because it's a big, huge item, and they've grouped necessary repair work that I've seen. I've taken the tour with new things like upgrade the saunas. On voting night, will the whole package be voted on and either be approved as a whole or shot down, or can they break it up into different pieces?
Well, you're reading my mind on one of my comments. And at the end of the day, the submitter can change it and make it more specific to certain projects, or they could keep it as everything. They keep it as everything. Odds of us giving that larger portion of our budget to that, I wouldn't hold a lot of hope. One of my comments I was going to make was my strong recommendation to whoever the submitter is you break it up and you make it smaller projects with a priority of which ones, and we could vote on the first one and go through it, because the way it's laid out right now, now this is my personal, it's not the commission, has a snowball's chance in hell of being funded.
That answers it. Thank you.
Now I get to do my comments, and then we'll go to you. Okay. I said one of the things I was going to be saying. The other thing, Tom, on the bathroom on Monterey Bay Park, that was approved in 1999 after standing room only crowds in here showing the need for it is needed. We don't need a study to say we need a restroom there. We need to get it built. And to have $1 million on that project as a price tag to me is ludicrous. I'd like to see a real number, whether it's a Portland loo or something, but $1 million ain't a price for a bathroom. And yeah, the idea of a study for the rest of the city and all the rest makes sense. But that one was funded in 1999 and has been needed since then. We had all the volleyball players. We had people coming in right and left about the need for it because they were using the bushes to have to go to the bathroom out there, and they still are. And then it got caught up in the harbor plan and this plan and the next plan that needed to be designed were all the reasons why it didn't get built. Not because no one said it wasn't needed, but it needed to be part of an overall plan.
The guy that gave the suggestion in this, he lives in Florida now.
I was going to say he probably died, but it's been that long. But, no, I'm going to be going through the projects and saying from our neighborhood standpoint before the start of the next meeting. I hope other folks do as well before we vote, so we get a chance to do it. And I echo a lot of what Richard just said. We have projects that were previously funded and got defunded. To me, I'm taking a hard look at those before I look at new ones. But then again, there's some good new ones that have been submitted too. So, it's the one thing we're all going to have to deal with as we vote. So, Dennis?
There's nothing that says that the sports center couldn't be done like the Windermere downhill, where I did 273,000 3 times to be able to accumulate money over a number of years. So it doesn't have to be replaced tomorrow.
No, but that was also your suggestion as a submitter to do that, and it got funded as a result of it. So another good idea out there to the folks who are submitting some of these huge projects.
I could provide maybe just a little information on the sports center. This is like a piece. It's a big piece, but there are a lot of projects.
We have a submitter who submitted a project. Unless they decide to change it, that's what we're looking at. And I'm just saying, when you're asking for that large a percentage of the overall NIP, it's never been done in the past. I don't know, and that doesn't mean I'm just one vote. I'm just telling you, I don't look too favorable on it. Then we can do it in phases. We could do it in pieces. Yes, Sports Center needs work done. So do a lot of other things on this list too. So, yeah, that's just me. Any other, Jean, are you up for a go bite at the apple?
No, I'm done.
Okay, I wasn't sure if your hand was still up or if you were wanting to go again.
Oh, no.
And it didn't mean you couldn't just because I made the comment of the third bite at the apple.
It's in my light, my house light. I couldn't see it.
Okay. April.
Quick personal comment regarding us we will be continually funding reduction of all of our fuel in all of our neighborhoods.
As long as we vote for it, yes. That is a project. And that is one of the new projects, yes.
Oh, okay. One personal comment. My daughter got evacuated with the Caldor fire. They came through and Cal Fire told them, we will not protect your home. We cannot do that. We are going to protect Lake Tahoe. And so what they had to do, and this may be something all of our neighborhoods want to take up, is they had what they called the Anthill Army. They all got together on the road. They plowed through. We can't do that in the city, but I'm talking about an effort by a community to protect their homes. They eventually made a loop around all of their homes, saved every single one of them, because otherwise they would have burned to the ground. So when we're looking at fire coverage, maybe we need to look at if individual projects in individual neighborhoods, is the city open to saying, hey, our neighbors will get together and we'll do this, or will they not?
No, it's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a great neighborhood project and it brings you guys together. Don't have a barbecue after it, though.
No.
The city of Monterey Fire Department put out that yesterday, June 1st, they were going to start inspecting they said every house and every business, et cetera. That's a lot of houses in a lot of towns and stuff like that for them to do, and they're terribly understaffed. So the more the neighborhoods can do to protect, start with your own homes, and there's all kinds of brochures and stuff you can get for the standards of where to start and what to do and what to look for.
No, the fire aspect is huge. I hit home personal. My operations manager for my business lost his house in Paradise. So it can happen real quick. So, and I don't see any other hands going up or anything else. So we'll close out this agenda item and move on to item 5, the financial report.
Thank you. Item number 5, I'm just going to flip to it.
Got you by surprise.
Let me get a better slide up here. I'm doing it right from the agenda. Yes, this is the financial report.
Yes. I could start speaking to it as you're finding the specific.
I'll move we accept the staff report.
We need to have a discussion on it, Tom, because there are some action items on it as it relates to, it basically shows the amount that would be available if we do 6, 7, 8, and 9. It also is proposing that as a potential, an amount for contingency, but that is based off of a straight just 10% of the fund that's we be allocating. From my standpoint, I think we need to have a little discussion about whether we need to put that much in right now. Since we don't have a lot of old projects anymore, these are all new, being estimated new. There are also number of projects that aren't construction projects, they're design or others. So do we really need to do 10%? So I'd like to have a little discussion on whether we do. I believe it's like 800,000. Which is similar to what you have the thing ready to show? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there's nothing to show.
Okay.
I had the presentation. So it's just
throw in
coming, it's working off the
780,000
agenda.
If you want,
Okay.
if you want me to throw that number in, I'll be glad to throw it in.
Well, that's what's being proposed. I'm just curious how we all feel. I know we all believe in having something put aside for contingency. The question is, what amount?
Yeah.
Dennis.
What is the amount of the active projects that didn't get axed by the city? I thought it was about 5.2 million.
That sounds about right.
So what's our contingency burden, given the estimates that we're getting now on building that 5.2 million?
Yeah, well,
Because I'm not sure that 15% of the available budget at 780,000 is enough.
mhm.
The contingency that we had that the city took away, when my memory was 819,000. And we've got 2 years of inflation, including huge gas inflation, et cetera, which has something to do with construction. So whatever contingency we had before ain't enough. Even though they clobbered a lot of projects, what Jeff and I would look at for those contingencies is, what do you think you're going to build in the next year? Well, let's see, we didn't build anything for 2 years. We killed a bunch of them and we got 5 million worth to do.
Mhm.
At 15%, 750 at least.
Mhm.
And it's 2 years bad estimates or 2 years even older estimates, since most of those projects were approved, I don't know, when Earth was dust or Jesus was born or something. They're old estimates. And I think we're really woefully blind saying that the estimate ought to be 15% of the available budget, because I don't know what the real number is. And I really don't want to spend it on projects that we're suggesting we go forward with if our contingency needs are greater than we're aware of.
And we're actually being asked to do 205,000 overruns tonight for some of those projects. So You're absolutely right. That's why I wanted to have a discussion about what is the amount that we're all comfortable with. I've got a hand up by Richard, and then Jamie, and then.
Yes.
Named.
I want to start out. I concur with Dennis's comments, and this is the reason I'm headed that way. I read the city budget. The estimate of a deficit by Christmas this year is $3.9 million. So I want you to consider that it's a $4 million deficit, and I think that's best case, and it's optimistic. And the reason I think it's optimistic for the city deficit is that they're predicting a 50 to 60% chance of a recession. But we've never had a recession with out of control inflation. Go to the grocery store, buy some gas, look at your bills. We never had a recession with shortages, including labor shortages and material shortages. The oil price today was $117 a barrel, and a year ago it was 60. And that influences asphalt prices, resurfacing streets, doing any kind of work. We never had a supply chain issue before, and we have that now. And we never had a pandemic with a recession before. So when you add all that up, I'm sorry, I think the 15% is not adequate contingency. I think 20% is closer to it, and that would be very conservative. So I rather go for the $1 million contingency, because the fact of the matter is, Dennis is right. Some of these estimates are over 5 years old. And if you want to complete projects, you're going to have the funds available. If you spend it all on projects, you will not get anything built. And then my big concern is the city going to be able to even fund these projects with their looming deficit coming up? This is their figures, not mine. And so if the deficit in December is 4 million or 8 million, it directly affects this program on whether the city council will even approve the amounts. So I am more towards that. And I have one question of Tom. I don't know what the overhead charge was in 2019, but this year in this form I'm looking at, it's $350,000. And I thought our vote was to fund the coordinator's position. And that was a full-time position. And I haven't got any assurances that the coordinator will be working on NCIP full-time or where that 350 came from. But if Dennis could tell me, is that an increase or the same amount? Thank you. That's the last of my comments.
I don't remember either.
So my answer will be, I don't recall.
Okay.
It looks double to me.
I don't, my sense is not double, but I think it's bigger, but I don't know.
I'll modify my motion to 1 million, 20%.
Okay, we're still having things, but okay, I have a motion on the floor.
Discuss the motion.
I second it.
Okay, now under discussion, we'll go to Jamie and then we'll.
Right. So, and I think it was
And
probably,
you can talk about more than just the motion.
I think last year was maybe about 200,000 when we used to do it, 170 to 200. So 350 is higher. So I'm going to invite you to look at it a different way. I will remind the committee that every dollar we put aside in contingency is a dollar that then is not available to put towards any project. And we do know that, when push comes to shove and we see we're getting short, we can always come back and have discussions or look at planning. So you put it aside now, that's projects on this list that don't come off this list. We had $800,000 or so plus or minus in there when we had $15 million worth of NIP outstanding projects, not 5. So we've got a lot less in the hopper now. So what I would advise you to think of is inflation, we check. At the same time, if you put away money in contingency for things that aren't going to need it, then you've taken money away from other projects that might be more imminent. So what we were doing, as Dennis said, is we were looking at just what would be built. And I would put to you the 5 million that's there that's old, they ain't gonna get done in 1 year. And then one last point, the inflation that's been built into all the numbers here is so high, I do not believe that we need to put any extra money in right now for this year's projects. So we really are talking about the old projects of 5 million, how many of those are going to get done, then take the inflation expectations and build back to a number. And I suspect it's less than the 780.
William.
Just looking through the numbers on the last page of the staff report on this, and I'm just wondering how confident we are of the expected working balance, because it seems to me that everything derives from that. Whether we put more or less into contingency, which leaves us more or less of a actual working balance, to a very great extent is dependent on what the expected working balance number is, and can we have confidence in this number? And I don't know, this is all new to me.
In general, yes, on the working balance. The challenge is, what's the cost really going to be for those projects that are still been approved, had funding on quotes that were maybe 4 or 5 years old. And, tonight, after this one, we're dealing with 4 different projects from that batch that are coming in over budget. So yeah, the number itself is pretty definite. That's exactly what the city finance department is tracking through, because everything's allocated against different projects.
Okay.
What's the cost going to be to actually finish those other approved projects when it comes time? Is kind of what we're debating right now. Of what do we put aside to hopefully cover those, and how quick will they be done? And
of revisiting the contingency balance later on if
next year.
Oh, so this is
it's basically this would
year.
be set into going into there for, if the council votes to approve it, is what is set for the thing. Now, as projects get finished during the year, if they're under budget, that money goes into what's called ending balance. And yes, that would be available to allocate against something also during the year. But as far as taking new money to put into a contingency, it's basically during this process we're doing right now, each year. Dennis?
But we could continue this item till voting night, do it at the beginning of voting night, and have studied the 5.2 million that's on the books now to see what would that really take.
Okay.
Because that's the type of review that
we
used to do as the finance committee on voting night, coming in and saying, we need 850 grand or we need, 25 cents.
Because
I believe it should be a studied number rather than just a percentage of the pool.
Okay.
Because if the studied number comes out to be 500,000, okay, good. I'm glad that that's the case. Do I believe that in the current inflationary environment? Not a chance.
I am not going to support the motion because I think I would rather wait until voting night, because I'd like to have a clear picture of what of that 5.9 million is realistically going to be done in the next 12 months. Because that's what we need the contingency for.
Okay.
Because we have a chance to put more money in to cover the next batch and the next, and it may be 850,000. I don't know what that number is. I just don't want to just pull it out of the air, which is what we're kind of doing right now. But that's me. Richard, you have your hand up, and then Kurt.
Yeah, I'll withdraw my second if I get that information from Dennis on voting night. I'm lacking that information. So I would be more confident if, I'm looking at $500,000 for fuel reduction. That won't require a contingency. So I would look forward to Dennis or the committee reviewing the list and giving me a realistic number. So my second is withdrawn and the motion will stand waiting for another second.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Motion's been withdrawn. So I think consensus I'm hearing is
Bring it back.
I'd like to see about holding a finance committee meeting between now and the next meeting to meet with you, Tom, and review what are the projects that are outstanding and realistically what might get done in the next year. So we can come back and have a confidence level in what we'd recommend to the committee.
We can,
And you can call it something other than the finance committee, because I know that was certain people had a heartburn with that term.
yes, yeah. The issue will be getting the agenda published in time we can.
Well,
work
we'll have
that
on the
tomorrow.
agenda assigning put a number as a potential for assigning of contingency.
I mean, to establish a subcommittee meeting, if we have to do that, we have.
Well, let's
run it just
let's
like-
have we would like to meet with you unofficially outside of being a committee meeting to see what's up.
And I think that's where the issue is. So let me see if we can do that, because
Okay. And if not, then what you'll need to be prepared to give us at the meeting is a detailed breakout of what you expect to actually get built in the next year. The same info that you would be reviewing with us will then need to be reviewed by the entire committee before we vote.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. It'll go a lot quicker if it's done outside, but I know there's different things of what's officially called a committee and how you have to notice it. And so
Work group, work
we're just
group.
looking at
study session.
the time to do that.
Yeah,
No,
I understand. I'm just,
I believe the Brown Act does allow for work groups.
Yes, it has to be a public. Well,
well, Tom,
If
you
it does-
figure out how you can do it as quick as possible. And I said, if not, we'll just need that info at the meeting itself. So that we have realistic information to work from as we're not just pulling numbers out of the air. Okay.
A prediction, we're going to be through the money so fast, we'll be,
Okay, item 6.
it's me again.
It's the Aeneas Bridge restoration request for $27,000 project overrun so the project can be finished.
Yes, thank you. This project was constructed. I'm hoping everyone had a chance to review the agenda report, but the project was approved in 2016. We had a budget that was allocated for $25,000. We originally retained a consultant to do the work, and the consultant had a sub who was going to do the structural analysis, who retired. And so that never came to fruition. We approached another 2 additional firms to get the work done. We got nothing. So the best estimate we have was for $30,000, which we can't do the work. So we're asking for an additional $10,000. I'm sorry, $27,000, just to get the study completed on this project. That makes sense.
Okay. Any questions?
And so this is a study, not necessarily a construction cost increase.
But it was the original project was the Aeneas Bridge restoration report. And from what I understand is basically the original number probably wasn't real. And the way anyone wanting to do the work is wanting a whole lot more money.
Well, labor is going up.
Yes.
Believe me, I just, yeah.
As well as gas.
Yep. Richard, you have your hand up?
No, I'll wait till you get finished with public comments. My hand is for a motion.
Okay, we'll open it to the public. Seeing no members of the public, and no hands up from those on Zoom, I'll close the public hearing. Bring it back to the commission for discussion and or motion. Richard.
My motion is to approve the funds.
From ending balance, correct?
Correct.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by William. Any further discussion? All in, Elisa, please take roll call.
Okey doke. Alta Mesa,
Aye.
Casanova Oak Knoll,
Aye.
Del Monte Beach,
Aye.
Del Monte Grove Laguna Grande,
Aye.
Downtown. Downtown, Kurt.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Kurt, I didn't hear you. Was that a?
Yes.
Fisherman Flats,
Yes.
Glenwood,
Yes.
Monterey Vista,
Yes.
New Monterey,
Yes.
Oak Grove,
Yes.
Old Town,
Yes.
Skyline,
Yes.
and Villa Del Monte.
I guess that's me, yes?
Okey doke. Thank you.
And yes, it's you, Tammy. Okay, item 7, Fish Fats Traffic Calming Plan. Request for a $10,000 overrun on this project, which will pay for additional public outreach because there was issues with what was ultimately submitted by the traffic consultant was never taken to the neighborhood to look at. And so this is to get that project finished, requires an additional public outreach meeting.
Correct. One additional public hearing, well, community meeting, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And then revise the report.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing on this
A
matter.
potential date would be in September if this passes.
Any member of the public who wishes to address this cost overrun? Seeing no hands raised, we'll close the public hearing, bring it to the commission for discussion and or motion.
Move approval
It's
of
been
10,000.
motion for
Second.
approval.
Second.
Gene seconded. Richard, you have your hand up. Is that a new hand or an old hand?
Old hand.
Okay. Any further discussion? Alyssa, please call roll for voting.
Okey doke. Alta Mesa,
Aye.
Casanova Oak Knoll,
Aye.
Del Monte Beach,
Aye.
Del Monte Grove Laguna Grande,
Aye.
Downtown,
Aye.
Fisherman Flats,
Aye.
Glenwood,
Aye.
Monterey Vista,
Yes.
New Monterey,
Aye.
Oak Grove, Loose,
Yes.
okey doke, Old Town,
Yes.
Skyline,
Yes.
and Villa Del Monte.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Something else.
So we'll keep you to your September timeline, Tom. Item 8, Mar Vista Reconstruction and Traffic Calming Plan. Request for $50,000 to complete the project. Tom?
Yes, thank you. It's $50,000. It was approved. For 198, we need another $50,000 to complete the design for the traffic calming and Monterey Vista, well, traffic calming and then the Mar Vista design work up there.
I'll open public hearing. Anyone wish to address the commission on this Mar Vista Reconstruction Traffic Calming Plan cost overrun? Seeing no hands raised from general public, I do have, we'll move it to the commission. Tammy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm just curious, what is the cost overrun for this? I mean, why is it, since this is a study, right? Is that, am I correct in that?
It's a design, yes,
A design.
not construction.
So it's 50,000 more for the design?
Yes, to complete the design.
Okay.
Yeah, this was one. So this was approved for $228,000. $30,000 was approved in April of 2020 at the beginning of COVID. Because it was available. The project was completed to a point and then shelved. And so we're trying to get it back on track again. We'll need $50,000 to restart and then complete the project.
So basically it's $80,000 over what was originally budgeted, correct?
No,
It's
No, that's the other way around.
Yeah.
They took 30,000 away in 2020.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay, sorry.
Yes.
Got it.
So now we're putting it back plus 20.
Plus 20.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're asking for 20 over the originally approved budget.
Amount, but
for this
it's technically 50 that's needed because some was defunded.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion. Or anyone have any further comments?
I'll move to approve. $50,000.
Second.
That we have a motion and a second. Call roll, please.
Okie dokie. Alta Mesa,
Aye.
Casanova Oak Knoll,
Aye.
Del Monte Beach,
Aye.
Del Monte Grove Laguna Grande,
Aye.
Downtown,
Yes,
Fisherman Flats,
Yes.
Glenwood,
Aye.
Monterey Vista,
Yes.
New Monterey,
Aye.
Oak Grove,
Aye.
Old Town,
Yes.
Skyline,
Yeah.
and Villa Del Monte.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Motion carries. Its overrun's been funded. We'll move on to item 9, which is Pearl and Figueroa Street intersection. This is construction.
This is construction.
$118,000 cost overrun.
Yes, that is correct. So due to the existing conditions right now, we have an actual estimate. We went out to bid with this project. It came in well over budget. We went out for a second estimate that came in even higher. So we're just looking to get enough money to construct the project right now. This is Pearl and Figueroa. It was approved in 2019. The design is complete, but construction right now we're having trouble meeting that. And you may notice on the first page of this agenda report that we're asking to include 15% contingency just because the estimate we have now is probably 2 to 3 months old.
Okay.
Haven't worked out.
Kurt, you have your hand up.
Question.
yes, I do. This clearly shows what the inflation is, and it should bear into the contingency that we're going to need for the 5 million.
And actually, Richard, before I go to you, I aired and didn't go out to public hearing first. I'll open the public hearing on this matter. I don't see any hands being raised online and there's no one in the public here. So go ahead, Richard. I'll bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah, this is this project is a straightforward concrete asphalt project. And it's a prime example of the out of control inflation, the shortages of materials, the shortages of labor, increased labor costs. It's a prime example of what we're going to face. And this is our future. And my advice is I move in approval of the amount. The faster we build it, the cheaper it is, because next month it's going to be worse. So that's my motion, approval of 118.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dennis. Tom, do you have a question? Or
Yeah,
comment?
quick question. My old office over 7 years ago was right at the corner where the law school used to be, across at this corner of this intersection. I think it was before about the time Kurt moved here, but we flooded our office because the cul-de-sac, the drain was not big enough. But it only happens like every 10 years. So if you haven't been here for 10 years, you had to raise everything on boxes and still stuff got wet and it was really a mess. So I'd just like to make sure that you check to make sure that the cul-de-sac that's on the southwest corner is big enough to handle the drain that comes down from the church.
I think you
Because
mean
if
the
it's
storm
not,
drain.
you can have flooding. So I'd hate to see us spend a whole big bundle of money and find out we still have flooding at that corner. So thank you.
That, I don't know that was a component of the project.
No sound.
So that wasn't looked at. If there's an issue with the size of the pipes downstream, this project will not address that. But thank you for making a note of it.
It's
And
the
we'll,
way the drain keeps something from blocking it. And
Yep.
it really causes a mess for all of those buildings that are in that corner.
Okay.
It's like every 10 years.
all right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? We have a motion and a second. Lisa, you want to call roll?
Okey doke. Alta Mesa,
Aye.
Casanova Oak Knoll,
I,
Del Monte Beach,
Aye.
Del Monte Grove Laguna Grande,
Aye.
Downtown,
Yes,
Fisherman Flats,
Aye.
Glenwood,
Aye.
Monterey Vista,
Yes.
New Monterey,
Aye.
Oak Grove,
Aye.
Old Town,
Aye.
Skyline.
Can I say okey doke? I mean, yes.
I do say it a lot.
What? It not get counted as a yes, but
And then Villa Del Monte.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
okay. That's the last of the agenda items. We're at committee member comments. So anyone who wishes to make a comment, please raise your hand. Jamie, you got your hand up first.
Before I forget, I just want to be sure we have on the agenda to look at how many cutoff projects we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be, I think we want to put some extra in because there's so much going on in everything there that's uncertain. Although tonight we're thinking we won't have leftover money, having extra on the list doesn't cost anything.
Anyone else wish to make a comment? Richard, you have your hand up for comments?
yes, I'd like to get a better definition of priorities from parks. But including in those priorities are fuel reduction. It's very confusing on the list that we got and a little unrealistic on what we can fund. We need to narrow the priorities down. And then I want to make sure there's time on voting night to get the neighborhood priorities too. And it's always been my goal through all the years of NCIP that every neighborhood gets something, that we don't focus on one or two and leave everybody else out. And I want some assurance that we're going to be able to build the projects that we recommend. And I'm very concerned about our financial future in the city of Monterey. We're the only city in the Central Coast to be in a deficit in our budget. And that's because all our eggs in the convention business, which is only recovered about 50 to 60% from what it was in 2019. So that's the reason we're in a deficit. The other communities got a lot of COVID money that we didn't get. And I'm just worried that I don't want to waste hours of our life not accomplishing what the community asks us to accomplish. Thank you.
Dennis?
We took out the wildlife protection fire program from the agenda, and we said we'd come back to agendize so we could have a neighborhood vote on supporting that program for the fire chief to be able to use.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if that makes sense to put that on in voting night. It's just a quick voting item, so we can have that memorialized in the minutes. Or
Yes, I think we should put it on for voting night. It won't be a long
yeah,
item.
it should be relatively quick, but I think having memorialized that all of the neighborhoods support it, it would be good. Because effectively what that will do is get us the game plan to be able to go ask for CAL FIRE money, Fed Force money. We don't have to pay for it, so they don't come ask for NIP.
Right. Okay, I've got a couple items. One is my understanding the Public Works Director's got 2 weeks left and the last thing, and that there have been interviews actually for new public works and applicants for new public works directors. So that's at least a good sign that we're getting applicants and not losing everybody to everyone else. Richard mentioned group business in the city of Monterey. It is actually coming back. I heard a meet this morning. They've actually booked quite a few meetings into the future years, and there's quite a bit that's getting to be on the books for much more recent. Will it be at 2019 or before anytime immediate? It's hard to say, but definitely group business has been picking up. And it's not just here. I know that from my clients throughout the country. So let's hope, because the city of Monterey did not get anywhere near the amount of COVID money as others. I believe Salinas got 40 million surplus over what their existing budget was. So they're actually ahead of budget where they were prior to COVID because of the COVID money. Monterey did not. I'm not sure exactly the mechanics of why or what, but virtually everyone else in the peninsula made out ahead, and we didn't even get back to even. So,
Quick question. Is it feasible, because you want to prepare for the worst, that we could approve what we approved 2 weeks from tonight? And then the city council, when does the city council have a limit on when they can take our money, or can it be at any time?
it can be at any time if they declare a financial emergency.
Okay.
They have to do that formally first. And then on a 4/5 vote of the council, they could take the money. Now, they have said they're not going to.
No.
So, yeah, as of right now, it's full steam ahead. As I indicated earlier, my comments to folks have been, if you're going to even a chance of doing it, do it before we vote on all the projects. So you're not defunding. Granted, you wouldn't technically be defunding because you haven't voted yourself to fund them yet, but to have everyone go through it and expect that they're getting it and have it be taken away a second time would not go over real well.
Yeah, the worst thing we could get is having 205 projects joined by another 50 projects next season. No.
I point out the city council won't get this until September 20th.
Yeah.
That's when it will be on the agenda, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, but I mean, that's way down the pike.
Right.
And we should know better how the conference center is doing, how the income, and whether that 31 million you project for TOT, whether that's going to even come close.
And I've got Tammy Jennings has her hand up online, and then Dennis.
I just want to know if or what happens. Okay, not every project obviously is going to be approved. These most of the projects were already approved and funded prior to them, defunding them. Are all the projects that may not be approved, are they still going to be active projects that would be voted on year to year, or the ones that don't get approved, do we have to start from scratch again and every year submit those projects for approval? I'm kind of confused about that.
As am I. There is no formal policy yet. My thought is that we have a meeting subsequent to voting night where we discuss how we want to handle those previously approved projects that got defunded, and we may not have voted to approve them again on this one. Do we want them automatically to be the next year? If so, for how many years do we want to do that? We're going to have to come up with a decision as a commission of how we want to handle those moving forward.
Okay, so that basically hasn't been resolved yet.
No, it has not. It hadn't even been discussed.
Okay, thank you.
Because there's no way we're refunding everything that had been defunded. We don't have enough money to do that. So,
Obviously, yeah.
okay. Any other comments? That's right, Dennis. Sorry.
You know me, I'll stick my hand in it.
You're not bashful.
No. So once upon a time back in, I have no idea how long I've been doing NCIP. I might be 20 years. At one point, we knew the city was having a problem, and we voted, I think, $500,000 of the NIP funds and said, hey, we know you got a problem here. Should we consider that?
Yeah, and it was of dubious legal standing that we did that. Because we did it. City attorney at the time allowed it to happen, but it was the way it's stated in the charter is they need to declare a financial emergency to do it now. They have said basically their answer to you on that is, yeah, fund 1.5 million or whatever is for the sports center as a way of doing it, because we have to do those repairs. So, I mean, I agree. It is, one of the comments that's come from study sessions of budget of councils is that, one of the options is NIP funds all the CIP projects. I'm just telling you what some of the things that have been out there and been discussed. Yeah. Don't shoot the messenger.
Is she?
No.
Oh, just quickly, 2 quick items. Sorry, we're not going to be able to do the van tour, due to medical problems, but the van tour in the past has been very valuable. And hopefully in future years, I just don't think we're going to get that many projects finally approved that we're going to use up the money so fast this year, even though it looks like a big sum of money. And the more we set aside for contingency, the faster it's going to go. The second thing is one of the projects was on CW 17 on the fuel reduction. Is part of it is the goats to access, and we've missed, the staff has missed every damn year submitting the thing with Deer Flats Park on getting the goats.
Yeah, there's high demand for goats these days. If you don't get in
Yes.
line early, you don't get
And
them.
they've already talked to the goat people. They're already lined up. Somebody needs to follow through sooner rather than later on the bidding process. It may be too late for this year if we're not going to get approval until September, because they're going to be having the goats this summer. And this is to get the inaccessible areas between our neighborhood and Deer Flats Park. So anyway, looks like we could miss again.
William, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to build a little bit on the van pool question. I spent about 6.5, 7 years on ARC in the early part of this millennium. And we did a van pool before every meeting, and it was really valuable. So I'm a little disappointed with the way that discussion went here tonight. I would say 3 things, I suppose. One is, if the city says we can't do it, then that's fine. Then that's the end.
We need to know.
Yeah, that's the end of it. But if it's allowable, I would say 2 things. Number one, nobody's obligated to go on the van pool, just like nobody's obligated to show up in person at this meeting. Number 3, or number 2, if you want to talk about it. So we're all over 18 and we can make decisions for ourselves. And that's really all I wanted to say about it.
Yes.
A long 17-mile drive up above Skyline Forest. The goats have been working and they've been just moving it along. And if you want to see the goats in action, and they're great,
Seen them. They
great
look like
Pyrenees dogs. The dogs are huge. And my wife is going, why don't the goats jump out? And I'm like, do you see the collars? Do you see there's a battery fence around them? But they've been cleaning them up there. And, that's been part of the activity that, quite frankly, we started from Skyline Forest. My HOA board said, how can we get the fire damage down? And I said, let me talk to Clyde and see if we can't do something. And that's what got the fire chief going on the community-wide fire protection plan, which, I really appreciate the combined support of the city, the mayor, the city manager, the fire chief. And we've had great cooperation with CAL FIRE, Pebble Beach, Caltrans, all working together to try and mitigate some of that. And they've been making the goats work up there.
Okay. No other comments or commissioner comments? During the meeting, next meeting is voting night on June 16th.
Thank you.